So I was pleasantly really surprised with Senior Year. From the outset, I thought it would be another typical Netflix movie, but actually it has so much heart and is just absolutely hilarious. And so if anything, it's actually a really great Netflix movie. What is up everybody, welcome back to Lifestyle Critic. I hope you're having a brilliant day. So in this video we are going to be reviewing Senior Year, which is the latest comedy movie coming from Netflix, and whilst from the outset it might seem a little bit trashy, actually it's a really decent movie which is just super hilarious as well. There are so many laugh out loud moments. Rebel Wilson, along with the other cast members as well, just delivers so brilliantly in this movie. It's also really well paced and is just the type of great elixir tonic that the whole world needs right now, as it's just such a great light-hearted movie, and I'm going to be breaking it all down for you in this movie review. So the storyline in this movie is actually a really interesting concept and centers around the Stephanie Conway character, who is an unpopular immigrant coming from Australia to America, and she goes about transforming her persona from being an unpopular girl to a popular girl, and her high school rival, Tiffany, does a really sinister thing in terms of sabotaging her cheerleading dance, which leads to this character crashing on the floor and going into a 20-year coma, waking up as a 37-year-old woman with the mind of a 17-year-old teenage girl, and she then goes about returning to high school to complete her senior year and go about trying to win the prom queen position. Now from a positives point of view, like I said in the beginning, this movie is absolutely hilarious. There are so many laugh out loud moments. For example, the Stephanie character jumping out of her car, just saying loads of ludicrous and hilarious stuff, and all of the ensemble characters as well in this movie definitely put their best comedic foot forwards, and this movie is just such a joy from start to finish. And it's also a really interesting perspective of how things have really transformed from the 90s to present day, and just all of the differences in terms of what was acceptable back then to what's unacceptable now, as well as the transformation in technology. I mean, of course, this is not the first movie to do this. There are so many movies that look at the past and compare it to the future and all of that kind of stuff, but I just feel like this does it from a bit of a comedic angle, as well as from a perspective that you can really learn from it as well. And I think it's also really great in terms of the lessons that this movie is communicating. For example, when you're so headstrong and determined to make a particular goal, what you're going to be doing as a result of that is ignoring some of the people that actually you should be paying a lot more attention to around you. And that emotional punch that this lesson gives by the end of this movie is just absolutely brilliant. On that point, this movie is actually pretty emotional, especially with the relationships with the Stephanie character and her parents and also the people around her. I think are really great. And another thing that I think it taps into, which is really interesting, is that back in the day, for example back in the 90s, people were a little bit superficial in terms of all of the things that they were going for, whereas on the surface it may well seem that actually the causes and all of the things that people are focusing on in terms of kindness and trying to be nice to each other and trying to break all of the differences between people may well seem really great. Actually, all of the sinister things from the past, for example popularity, is just morphed into a different format in the present day, which is of course how many followers a person has on Instagram, and this is being used as a bit of social currency in terms of determining who are the popular kids, and social acceptance as well, which I think this movie puts a really interesting lens on. However, from a negatives point of view, I feel like the main villain in this movie, even though she caused such a catastrophic event to happen to the Stephanie character, I feel like she doesn't really get much of a comeuppance in this movie. And also, even though the emotional strings are really great in this movie, I wish they would have delved into it a little bit deeper, especially the relationship with the Stephanie character and her mother. And also, I absolutely love all of the Instagram, the influencing aspects of this film and exploring brand deals as well. Just wish again they would have delved into this a little bit more. But that being said, from a storyline point of view, it's really tight in terms of the specific storyline that they want to tell, and they just do that in such a hilarious way, which I feel like from a storyline perspective makes this movie really successful. So from a casting characters point of view, Senior Year is so good. They have got such excellent names playing all the different characters in this movie, and they just play them so brilliantly. So let's go through them one by one. So first up, of course, we have Rebel Wilson hilariously playing the Stephanie Conway character, and she quite literally throws herself into playing this character in terms of an older person from the outside, playing this younger person from the inside, and there are just so many hilarious consequences. And I just feel like Rebel Wilson, like I said, just plays her so brilliantly, and you're really able to believe the fact that actually there is a 17-year-old girl inside this character, and her interactions with her old friends, her interactions with her parents, interactions with the new kids, interactions with her past crush. I just feel like all of them are just executed so brilliantly, and like I said, with hilarious consequences as well. Next up we have Zoe Chao, who is playing the older version of the Tiffany character, who was the rival to Stephanie in high school. And she is still holding such a big grudge and just really underlyingly hates the Stephanie character. I wish they would have explored this a little bit more from an insecurities perspective in terms of why Tiffany really does hold it against her. Maybe she kind of wants to be like Stephanie, maybe it's because Stephanie stole her position in terms of being the head cheerleader and stole her boyfriend as well. I wish they would have just showed a little bit more in terms of why she just has this burning hatred against the Stephanie character. And it's really interesting as Zoe Chao is playing a very different type of character to who she did in the after party. Speaking of the after party, let's next talk about Sam Richardson, who plays Seth in this movie, a little bit similar actually to his character in the after party, and he is just effortlessly hilarious in this movie. And I really like it as the Seth character has always had a bit of a crush on the Stephanie Conway character, and they really do explore it in a little bit of a predictable way in this movie, but nonetheless I feel like all of the actors just do such a good job that even though it is a little bit predictable, it is really great too. Next up we have Justin Hartley, who is really great as the Blaine character. So by contrast, this is the person that the Stephanie Conway character had a bit of a crush on in high school, and then you get to see what happened to this character in the future. And I really like it as they do show that you can't really trust a bit of a sleazy football player. Again, I wish we would have explored this character a lot more, as he was a really interesting character from a younger perspective. But then the older version of this character, he's in a couple of scenes, but not that many. But especially as the younger version of Stephanie was just focusing on him so much, I wish the older version of this character did focus on it a little bit more. We would have got a little bit more screen time from Justin Hartley, as he is such a brilliant actor. But what we did get to focus on by contrast instead was Mary Holland's Martha character, who was so wicked. So she was the former awkward friend to Stephanie in high school, and I loved the arc that this character went on as she then became the principal 20 years later of this high school, and she is trying to remedy the school of all of the things that she found really challenging. For example, trying to remove the prom king and queen position, as she just wants everyone to be on the same level and have a lot of equality, just wants to try to break all of the different groups in high school as well, and just try to make everybody really happy all the time, and just trying to make everything fine. But this obviously in turn just means that people don't experience things in maybe the way that they should do, and their emotions are maybe not going in the way that they should experience them as well. So I just feel like it's a really interesting lesson in terms of the impact that you can have when you wrap everyone around you in cotton wool, which I think is really interesting when the Stephanie character then enters the mix and brings back all of that stuff from high school. I feel like I wish they would have explored this a little bit more, but nonetheless, I feel like Mary Holland's Martha character was absolutely brilliant. We've also got Chris Parnell playing the Jim character, the father to Stephanie. Absolutely love this character as well. Such a caring father who's literally always been there for Stephanie and trying to make her really happy as well. And I feel like he is a really great parental figure, and I really love their final couple of sequences in this movie. The young cast are really great as well, both in terms of the past and the present, and I just love the contrast of the two different group of characters. And there is also a wicked cameo in this movie as well, which I thought was absolutely brilliant and really does hark back to the 90s as well. And so from a cast and characters point of view, like I said, they are absolutely brilliant actually in senior year. So from a visual and cinematography point of view, I have to say senior year is actually really great as well. I absolutely love all of the comparisons from the 90s to what life is like right now. I feel like they really transport you back into the past, especially at the start of this movie, as you really do believe that you are in the 90s. And then the contrast that all of this has with present day, for example, very easily and very obviously, for example, with technology, and also the way in which cars are moved on, and also the way in which the school looks was really great. On that point, the dance sequences are absolutely hilarious. For example, Britney Spears' Crazy, the music sequence with that one's absolutely hilarious. All of the dance sequences from a cheerleading perspective, all of the sequences, also the big extravagant prom parties, just look really great. And I just feel like it really embraces the storyline that it's trying to tell. For example, a character from the 90s that is suddenly dropped into the world right now and how they would react to how everything has transformed. But I just think is executed really well in this film. Say from a comparisons point of view, obviously this isn't the first movie that focuses on a bit of a high school scenario, so conceptually I feel like you can definitely compare this movie to While You Were Sleeping and 17 again, and then from a high school perspective I think you can definitely compare it to The Kissing Booth, He's All That, F the Prom, and Sierra Burgess as well. But that being said, like I said, this movie is actually pretty unique in the specific concept that it is executing in this film. So overall, surprisingly, I enjoyed Senior Year a lot more than I thought I would have done. I feel like it's a really great escapist movie that is also absolutely hilarious and will definitely leave you with a massive smile on your face, as all of the performances are really, really great. All of the sequences that take place in this film are really, really great, and just the emotional storytelling device that they have in this film is really, really brilliant. And so for all of those reasons, I'm going to give Senior Year a massive 7 out of 10. Now I'd love to hear what you thought of this film, so please let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in my next video.